They have a quick embrace there. Here's the score, 27-10. But if you think the Bengals are coming into this game to be the underdogs and the spunky upstarts, you got another thing coming. Here was CBS's Tracy Wolfson speaking with Joe Burrow after the win when asked about, those tickets that might have been sold at a neutral field for Bills-Chiefs.
And complete game from everybody. Offense, defense, special teams. Domination from start to finish. That's what we expected. Job's not finished. We got another big one next week on the road. Excited for it.
We talked about it yesterday, just that chip on your shoulder. Everyone talking about a neutral AFC championship game, not even thinking about you guys. How much did that motivate you coming into this?
You better send those refunds.
It makes Kyle laugh. Kyle Brandt still in Buffalo after being there all weekend with his family. He worked a pregame show on NFL Network, watched the game in person. Kyle, what impressed you about the Bengals win? I'm going to force your hand to go that direction.
I could use a refund right now. So the family and I drive 7.5 hours from New York to Buffalo. We decide, no, let's keep going. Let's push it. We drive directly to Niagara Falls without stopping at the hotel, without anything. We walk across the bridge to Canada. Every person there at Niagara Falls, because it's a tourist destination, it's Bengals fans, guys, everywhere. Everyone's who day this, who day that. I'm sitting there looking at the Niagara Falls with my family, and it's 75,000 gallons per second. This Bengals fan comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, you see that? That's going to be Bills fans' tears tomorrow night." I go, "Damn, dude, what a line. That was cold." And I think he might be absolutely right. You guys all watched the game. I can tell you, being at the game, most beautiful atmosphere I've ever seen. It's not just snow. It's these beautiful, fluffy, sticky snowflakes. And Eric Moulds is there firing up the crowd. DeMar is there. It's loud, the music. And then 5 seconds into the game, the Bengals are in the end zone. I was standing next to a Bills legend who I will not name. And as Jamar Chase crosses the goal line, I look at him and he looks back at me and he goes, "We in trouble." And they were in trouble. It was an almost erotic, absolute dissection that Joe Burrow did of that Bills team, that Bills atmosphere. It could have been 300 below with 20 feet of snow, and it wouldn't have mattered. An absolute, complete walloping for 3 hours from Cincinnati, who came in here, did whatever they wanted, and left. They were incredible yesterday.
Kyle, the word explaining the Bengals and their offense, erotic, might make some people squirm, but I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on with that analysis in the way Joe Burrow operated. Exactly. Kyle, hang out. We'll get back to you in a little bit, all right? Guys, you don't have to use that language, but impressed still about the Bengals win. Jay, what'd you think about that game?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm like, wow, if we're saying the offense was erotic, like what title we're going to use for the defense, because they were unbelievable in this game. And Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, weapons of plenty. And this was an offense throughout the regular season and even the first round of the playoffs. Like, they make big plays and they put up points. They had 1 touchdown on 8 drives yesterday. The Cincinnati Bengals defense only gave up 10 points, and they got after Josh Allen, was running for his life, throwing the ball away. Mike Hilton hitting them on plays. There was one that could have been a fumble, incomplete pass. Then you saw Taylor-Britt come away with an interception late in the game, and the Bills' offense just looked uncomfortable all day. There was no connection between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. We saw the frustration on the bench coming from Diggs, but Lou Anarumo, he deserves a ton of credit. Eli Apple at the end of the game called him a mad scientist while he was puffing away on a cigar in the locker room, answering questions from the media. The design blitzes with zone behind it. He just called a great game. And these last few years, he's done it to Mahomes and the Chiefs, and now going against this Buffalo Bills offense, totally shut them down. It was a great performance by this Bengals defense yesterday.
As a former defensive player, you have to look at that and just say, 10 points in Buffalo. If you were to write that down beforehand, you'd say, well, no, they're going to get more than 10 points. 10 points. And yet I look at what the offense did to that Buffalo defense. That was just slicing through Swiss cheese those first 2 drives, and Burrow had all day to throw. Remember, the storyline all week was Connor Williams is down. They're down to their 3rd left tackle. What is Jackson Carman going to do? They built an offense here, and Zach Taylor and Brian Callahan deserve a lot of credit, but it's really Burrow. 2 seconds, 1 drop back. Like, it was so quick out of his hands, and the Bills just were not able to cover it. They went right down the field those first 2 drives, and as Kyle said, you knew it was over. I look at Burrow yesterday. In those conditions, with everyone already buying tickets to a neutral site, like, is he the best quarterback in football? If you're building a team right now, are you taking anyone other than Joe Burrow? Josh Allen's gotten all the hype and all the love, and he's been amazing his young career. And obviously, Mahomes going to have the MVPs, and Rodgers and Brady, and you can go right down to Herbert and Lawrence. What Joe Burrow is doing week in, week out, the consistency and the unflappable nature of this guy on the road, in the snow, with all that emotion that was going in, to come out those first two drives and just march your team right down the field and say, oh, I don't care. That's their story. This is our story. I'm blown away by Burrow. I don't know if there's a better quarterback in all of football right now.
He looks unfazed. Kyle told that story about standing next to a Bills legend and, like, one play for the Bengals offense, he's like, oh, we're in trouble. I really feel that we should have been saying that in November about the Bengals, because they went a month without Jamar Chase. He was down 4 games with a hip injury. They hadn't lost a game since that October 31st loss to the Browns. They were winning games in November without Jamar Chase. And then Jamar Chase comes back, and he has been unbelievable in that stretch since. All right, so since Halloween, Bengals haven't lost a game. He returns to the Bengals in early December, and these two, this battery of quarterback, wide receiver, has been unbelievable. And it's not just the season. It's not just last night. It's the last 2. It's their time together since being at LSU together. The connection here is unbelievable. And it made me think about what this combination looks. Now, the 2 better in them in the receiving yards category in the last 2 seasons is Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp. Frankly, that was just from the 1 season last year. Receiving touchdowns, that is the Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp combination. But longer than 20-plus yards. To lead the league in that over the last 2 seasons, this is just the beginning for these 2. Jamar Chase looks unbelievable. The Bengals, to Joe Burrow's credit, he finds everybody, he makes everybody look good, but, like, that connection is something special.
Yeah, it's no surprise. Jays make everybody look good, right? I think they're doing a great job of that. I think when I look at this game, you know, Kyle was right on it. Like, he wants to say erotic. I'm going to say exotic. How about Joe exotic?
There you go.
All right, nothing more exotic than a white Bengal in the snow right out there.
Talk about it.
But the start of the game, yes, the first play of the game is Jamar Chase. It was a pass. All right, get the ball out, get the ball out. But what impressed me the most was how physical these Snowcats were. I mean, they took it to them. I mean, they punched the Bills' defense in the mouth right out of the gate, and they did it with an offensive line that really was the question mark going into this game, and it was the narrative that, hey, how's this offensive line going to protect Joe Burrow?
Show them love.
Shout out to the big boys. These are the big cats, all right? The feline theme is in effect. Jackson Carman making his first start at left tackle for Jonah Williams. Cordell Volson at left guard. Ted Karras, who battled through an MCL injury, basically on one leg. Max Sharping making a start. Look at the stats right here, all right? 3 of these guys have only started 1 game or less in the regular season. Max started in the playoff game last week alongside Akeem Adeniji. But this offensive line took it to this Bills defense out of the gates, and it was obvious they were going to run the football with Joe Mixon. Obviously, snow, and you've got all these young offensive linemen. You don't want to put them in 3rd and long situations and make them throw the ball 45 times. But the effectiveness and the physicality of this offensive line and this offense and Joe Mixon. I don't think Joe Mixon got enough credit for how well of a game he played, how physical yards. He was. This team, he had 105 yards rushing. It was just his 2nd 100-yard rushing game of the season, and 172 yards on the ground. Guess what? Half of those yards were after contact. So that's Joe Mixon. That's Jamar Chase. That's Pirine. That's when you look at Hayden Hurst jumping over people. This Bengals team came to play. They were not going to go down. You did not see the first defender tackle any ball carrier.
Let me ask you, you're an offensive lineman, a legendary one. When the Chiefs lost their 2 tackles in the Super Bowl against Tampa, we felt it. How come Cincinnati, they lose their tackles and it felt like they got better yesterday? What is that? Is that testament to the coaching of Pollock that coaches the offensive line, or is that just their offense the way it's built?
Yeah, great job by Frank Pollock, the offensive line coach. Definitely give him some love. I think the game plan was great, too. Let's get the ball out quick. We're not going to drop back. No max protections. But the fact that they said, we're going to let you run the football and go downhill. Jackson Carman is really more of a guard, right? So let's let him do what guards do. Let's let him run, be aggressive and head downhill. I thought that aspect of it really changed the way that this whole offense started to operate, because they started beating them up front, and that opened things up out on the outside. But, you know, credit to the right guard, Max Sharping, for stepping in. He played tackle in college as well. And then, as I mentioned, Ted Karras, banged up. You could see he looked like he tore his MCL, and he's out on one leg saying, I'm not coming out. I'm protecting.